I know it's like that.
Hello everyone. Can we just settle and start? Everyone is looking so excited. Okay.
Let's sit down.
Who is Father Cloriviere? The person of prayer, and his volumes of books speak about prayer. He lived his life simple and humble, though in his speech he would stumble. His writings showed the depth of his spirituality, as he was loyal to Ignatian spirituality. He lived his vocation with true faith in God, facing every difficulty with great confidence in God. His immense love for the Sacred Heart of Jesus and Mary led him to start the Congregation of the Sacred Heart of Jesus at the Daughters of the Heart of Mary. May his passionate love for Christ inspire each one of us to be compassionate in Christ, and may he intercede for each one of us to be true daughter of the heart of Mary. Good afternoon and hearty welcome, dear sisters. It's been a year now that we have come to Premankur. Isn't it true? Yes. We were all locked down. We have all been meeting each other for online meetings and webinars. But I'm happy that we have made it to meet in person as we gather for this twin celebration of Tisha's vows and closure of Bicentenary year. It's a great day, one we have been planning and waiting for. We have sisters representing the different communities and some who have joined online for this celebration. I welcome each one of you from Maharashtra, Gujarat, Delhi, Baddi, and UP. Now I invite Philomena Sequeira to welcome this gathering. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of our provincial, Ms. Maggie Aleshu, I warmly welcome all of you and all those who are watching our program live. It is indeed a one DHM family where we gather together with joy and love in our hearts during the pandemic for the closing of the bicentenary year of the death of Father Cloriviere. The celebration of the vows in the morning, the fellowship meal in the afternoon, and the enthusiasm in our hearts to meet one another surely instill in us the spirit of Corona. The joy to meet and greet one another, to listen to the life and inspiration of Father Cloriviere, to the different sharing or the poetic version that wells from the heart of our sisters, or maybe to a presentation, and of course to have fun, the game of housey, to sing and song and dance that will surely lift us up. The year 1920, we have been studying and reflecting on our founder's life, his journey in the Society of Jesus, the various forms of struggles in the mission, and of course his death. His circular letters served a purpose for our religious life, and we to derive inspiration and live our vocation in the society of the daughters of the heart of Mary with great joy and commitment. As we conclude the bicentenary year of the death of Father Cloriviere, let us continue to live and share the richness of our charism by responding to the needs of time and place. It may be a pandemic year for us, but we do have a lot of hope in the hopeless situation, and we believe, like Father Cloriviere, who told by Adelaide Assisi, that time is a great healer, and it manifests little by little the designs of the Lord. With this note, I warmly welcome you. Thank you, dear Philo, for your warm welcome. Philo has already given the structure of our program, where we will be having our sharing, PPT presentation, songs, poems. Let us have this enriching journey of love through this program dedicated to Father Cloriviere. Now I invite Mercy to present the PowerPoint on the life of Father Cloriviere from pulpit to prison. Here we have Mercy.
Very good. I'll read from there. Shall I come this Mikey, why
Mike, you need what?
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Significant date preceding the revolution, 24th February 1789. Systematic declaration by the revolutionaries. The civil constitution of the clergy. 13th February 1790. Suspension of religious vows. Just one second, there's some technical problem. Just one second. It's not showing. You're presenting mode or presentation mode? You have to put the presentation mode. Presentation mode. You know, my sisters are watching there and we want to put it a presentation mode. Otherwise, they are just looking at, something. I didn't know.
Okay. I don't do anything.
No. When she finished the letter.
So it's animated?
Yes. 25th March 1790, Feast of the Annunciation. In the pulpit, Father delivered a sermon on the value of religious life instituted by Jesus Christ. He was threatened and asked to stop preaching in that manner.
A season of troubles followed. He became suspect and a threat. He was ridiculed and harassed by the municipality. He was deprived of the direction of the college. 14 July 1789.
The storming of the Bastille by the revolutionary forces. The revolution began. 19 July 1790 in Brittany. A sudden extraordinary experience. Why not in France? Why not in the whole world? In the world without a cloister? A new form of religious life.
Lord, what shall I do now? Shall I submit this revelation to my bishop? Oh, yes. Adelaide had this idea already.
Father declared shared inspiration with Adelaide. She rejoiced that her prayer was finally answered. The next step, Cloriviere submitted the idea to his bishop, who encouraged him to go ahead. He remained in Brittany and served the people who were terrified with the happenings.
I am your priest, Lord. Even in the midst of evils and darkness, wherever you need me, I shall go.
2nd February 1791. The founder's next journey was to Paris to submit the matter to the papal nuncio. In Paris, a number of priests enrolled themselves as members of the Society of the Heart of Jesus, consecrated themselves at the Sacred Heart Basilica, Paris.
Many women showed interest, joined the Society of the Heart of Mary. They all made their commitments in Brittany, and they did the same in other places in Brittany.
The September massacres took place between the 2nd and 6th September 1792. Were a series of killings of prisoners in Paris. Half the prison population of Paris had been rapidly executed. Antoinette and many other members of the royal family were victims.
Victims in the families of our founders. Father Cloriviere's brother Alan, 3 nieces, his sister, a visitation nun. Alan,
More than 220 were priests held for refusing to accept the revolutionary church reorganization.
Father Cornwall, very clear to Father Cloriviere, and 3 priests of the Society of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, founded by Father Cloriviere, were executed. The Carmelites of Compiègne were sent brutally to the gallows. After September, the massacres continued in other cities. Marie-Anne Gaufreau appeared before the court at Poitiers. She was tied to a pillar for 6 hours and exposed to the jeers of the people on Good Friday that year. After that, she was condemned for 6 years of isolation. Perrine Guichard and Marie Tetra, the revolutionaries ordered them to take care of the sailors arriving with 5 typists at the port of Saint Malo. They both contracted the disease. Marie died first, Perrine died later. She appeared so frightful, as if she were one great wound. Madame de Barcelona was taken to the Asper prison in Paris from Britain and left there for 12 months. Then executed. Father Cloriviere visited her often, heard her confession, and gave her Holy Communion.
Father de Cloriviere, knowing the danger he was in, shifted residence frequently while in Paris. One day, he had just left his room and locked the door. He had a visit from the police. Is Citizen Cloriviere at home? He asked. No, he has just gone out. If you wish to wait for him, I can open the door of his apartment. Or he left.
18 November 1800, head of the government. His opponents cheered and aided him. They hatched a plot to do away with him. In one of the strips around the city, an infernal machine exploded, killing several other people. Father Cloriviere's nephew, one of the conspirators of the plot, asked for lodging for his co-conspirator, Carbon. He was sent to Adelaide. She innocently arranged for his stay with another daughter of the Heart of Mary. Police discovered his hideout.
Adelaide was arrested in January 1801. She was committed to the St. Pelagie prison for harboring a criminal. Detained with prostitutes. For 3 months, Adelaide's tremendous patience and kindness won over the unfortunate women in the prison cell and restored their dignity as children of God.
Great suffering was caused to the DHM. Father Cloriviere was in anguish because it was he who had sent Carbon to Adelaide with the recommendation of his nephew Lemoyne, who never revealed that he was a conspirator in the plot to kill Napoleon. He went into hiding somewhere out of Paris to keep away from the police. He was concerned about the young society, which would have been without a leader if the two were sent to April 7, 1801. The stirring plea made by Master Bellard, Adelaide's attorney, in favor of the prisoner. The court realized she was innocent. Mademoiselle de Cissé was acquitted on April 7, 1801 in Paris. There was great rejoicing that day. The police records of the police prefecture showed that Joseph Fouché, Minister of Police, had a strong suspicion that Cloriviere, because of his nephew, was involved in the assassination of Emperor Napoleon. His spies combed the whole town to search for him without success.
On May 5th, 1804, his hideout was discovered. He was arrested.
Here I am, Lord, ready to do your will.
He was held in prison for a total of 5 years. He was taken to the police for the first days, during which his papers were examined. That the prisoner, along with a woman named Adelaide Cisse, founded a secret society for both genders, Society of the Heart of Jesus for Men, Society of the Heart of Men for Women. Both initiative to work the government. At the same time, the men and women belonging to the organization seemed good people having great reverence for the priest.
The minister of public worship, J.E.M. Portalis, was appointed by the emperor to look into the existence of these bodies and to furnish the government with reports of its activity immediately so as to denounce it. A great worry for the founder. When the imperial decree appeared, a list of bodies working secretly was scratched off. The two societies were not affected. Our founder heaved a sigh of relief. He said, "Nothing can hinder the accomplishment of God's designs."
Father de Cloriviere was released on 11th April 1809. Thanksgiving rose from all the voices of his family.
Jacqueline,
The extreme patience and silent suffering of Father de Cloriviere in prison, his sense of dedication to his mission, his readiness for risk and discomfort so that God's will is accomplished, characterized his life.
Where is being implemented now?
To the members of the Society of the Daughters of the Heart of Mary, a life deeply rooted in God, which can and should be lived even in difficult times. Peter Joseph de Cloriviere passed into eternity on the 9th January 1820. Thank you.
Oh my God, that was really a massive work from Mercy. Thank you, dear Mercy, for taking us on a trip on the life of Father de Cloriviere. Through this PPT, Mercy has shown the words of Father de Cloriviere come true. I am like a ball in the hands of God, as he was subject to the will of God. Thank you once again, and Mercy deserves 3 cheers. Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray! Thank you, dear Mercy.
I think before the Mercy spoke, she said Mercy
None of
deserves.
us have met Father de Cloriviere personally. Have we?
Yeah, now we can
But
see.
slowly, he has become very much part of us, especially during this past year where we have reread and reflected so much about him and his writings. Now let us listen to our sisters who will share their experiences as to how Father de Cloriviere has been a source of inspiration in their journey as agents. I invite Hazel, then later Shaila and Martina to share their experiences.
Because I don't have a slides. I know,
So, my dear sisters, from the morning we have had such nice celebration. Very warm. And
Approach Martina share the experience. They have experience.
Shared.
No, we'll share after. She called Martina.
Good snacks. How will we sit and listen to some spirituality of Father de Cloriviere? And how will our spirits rise with all the good things that we are trying to digest? So anyway, I said let me try and do what I can. And what I thought of doing is not so much like just going to his writings and quoting, but trying to live certain things that we know very well about him, because we have read his life again and again, and nothing of what I say will be new to me. But it is a question of understanding the man and his spirit in the reality of his life. A reality which all of us have contemplated. Like for instance, this morning when we were talking about Isha, and we were talking about her search for God, the search of her vocation, and how she also had a father, a family, who helped her, and then other circumstances which came into her life. So the same thing by certain contexts in our life. Inevitably, we are born in a family. We have people who interact with us, with whom we relate. There are circumstances which happen which we don't foresee, and we have to cope with it. How do we cope with these circumstances in our life? How did Father de Cloriviere cope with the circumstances of his life? And it is in looking at him as a man, as a growing up child, as a growing adolescent, as a growing young religious, and then some that he had to face. So that is what I thought of doing just now. And that is that father and his family, born in St. Malo, as we know, on the coast, northwestern coast of France, a seafaring population. That is, people who were in the navy, and people who and quite an aristocratic, wealthy family, where he had relatives who had shipbuilding industry. So the desire was that he too should be part of this seafaring population. But Father de Cloriviere didn't feel attracted to the seafaring life, and he preferred, say, to go to Paris and study law. So, in his search for God, this was also part of the thing. God leads us to different circumstances to find him, not in the seafaring life, but through his life in Paris. And then
something happened which no one can foresee. That he lost his father when he was 5 years, he lost his mother when he was 7 and 8 years, and therefore even before he was 9 years, he was an orphan. An orphan depending therefore on the goodness of relatives who were kind enough to look after him. Money was not lacking, the place to stay, a residence was not lacking for him, but he lost his parents. And those who write about his life speak about his timidity, that he was a timid child, and later on developed this handicap of stammering, and much worse than stammering, even stuttering. That he couldn't even pronounce his words and express himself. And we know that as a child, if you have to face the situation in school, how do children react? How they laugh at us, how they make fun of us, how we feel humiliated and frustrated. It is through these kind of circumstances of his life that he was also trying to find God. Later, as a novice, as a socialist, when he was in philosophy, and philosophy meant having thesis and questions which the whole group could discuss. And there he was lost. He couldn't speak, he couldn't explain what he wanted to. And then sometimes people try to be nice, but they cannot help it. They just burst into laughter. And he had to face that. At times he said, sometimes I wish I would die rather than have to face these kind of situations. He had very great inspirations, but he also had this kind of struggle to accept such a difficult situation of humiliation in his life. He was intelligent, he was gifted with very good intelligence and spirituality. That is why his superiors chose him to take responsible posts. But when he took these posts, then he could not express himself because of the stammering and the stuttering. And that's why he did a lot of writing in his life, because he gave notes to his novices, which they could use for their own instruction. And therefore, this is the kind of founder we have, who had to struggle through difficulties which are not spoken about, but which are endured, sometimes in silent tears, in the quiet of their rooms. And then he turned so much to Our Lady. He had missed the presence of a mother in his life. And he turned so much to Our Lady. And once, twice, he made pilgrimages to her. If we read his works and his writings, we see how he is begging, pleading with God to help him through this stammering, because already he was hearing the Jesuit superiors were already saying that he may not be able to be ordained a priest if this continues. So the uncertainty and insecurity of his future, he had so much hope to be a priest. And then coming to think that maybe I will be a brother in the society. I will accept just being a brother in the society. So I felt that this is the kind of father that we need also to be in company with in his suffering. And when we have suffering also, to ask him how he went through this. This was not just 1 or 2 years, it was many years that he went through it. Imagine as socialist and all, he was so much grown up, almost up to the time of his ordination, and even then later, even when he became a pastor, a parish priest, he had that fear that if I go to speak to my parishioners, will I be able to express what I want to express to them? And always very dependent on God to help him out in those situations. So this was, the political situation which we have just seen through the PowerPoint, so many challenges suppression of vows by the state government, then even by the church, and that the superiors telling them that the society is going to face a very difficult time, may be suppressed. So if any of you want to leave and go, please go now. And you can go back into secular life and do whatever you want to. Or if you want to continue, you may continue, but we cannot predict what will be the future of the Jesuit society. So even in that uncertainty, to make a choice of the future of his life. And then this search, on what would he base it? The choice which he was going to make for the future. That choice was going to be made because of his appreciation of the Jesuit way of life, the Jesuit spirituality, the ideals, the values that he had seen in the writings and the Jesuit saints who had preceded them. So it was on the basis of that that he decided, whatever may come, I take it. I was thinking so much even of Father Stan's once, when he, a few days before his arrest, he said, I know what will come and what I will have to accept. Whatever comes, I will accept. Because more precious than that is my serving God where he has called me. So also here, whatever happens to the society, I go in. And after that, Father Cloriviere found it difficult to be in France, so we sent him to Liège, Belgium, then to England, he went to Germany, shunted from house to house, learning different languages, adapting. Finally, he comes back to France, that was close to the 1780s. And there too, he had to live like a secular priest because the Jesuit order as such was not functioning. There were no provincials and superiors to say, go there, go here, and go there. So he had to be under the bishops. And so he went to Dinan. And when he went to Dinan, there he was in charge of the college, but there were sisters who also came because of the water springs which were there. And it was there during that time that he met Adelaide the Cecil. And he was struck by her genuineness and her sincerity in sharing. He did not know whether what she was saying is really something definite from God or not. Whether the kind of proposal she was making about religious life was possible or not. But he just listened attentively and allowing the Spirit of God to guide him in his listening. And what he felt was, he felt that this woman before him was very genuine. She was really trying to understand what God's will was for her. And therefore, he would try to help her. He did not, Father Cloriviere was not a presumptuous director, happy that somebody came to ask him and happy to say, yes, yes, I think you should do this, and no, no, I don't think you should do that. He was not that kind of a director, but he was one who listened and tried to understand the searchings of her own heart and how those searchings are reflecting the indications of God in her, always searching for God in himself and in others. And at that time, Adelaide the Cecil had other people also who were guiding her. And this other father, Lacroix, who was guiding her, he said, yes, you can go and try any of the convents. But when she did not gel so much with what she found, he accused her of being imprudent and arrogant also, just wanting her own will. Now you see, at that time also women were very much under the control of men. Always the spiritual directors were men. And therefore, what does this woman understand about all these things? That tendency is always there. But Father Cloriviere did not see it like that. He accepted her confidence with respect and dignity that she was searching for something, and I must try to help her because finally God is our goal, what we are looking for. And so finally, fortunately, I would say, Father Lacroix allowed Father Cloriviere to guide her. And even then the guidance, Father Cloriviere said, let us wait for the moment of the Lord. The Lord will reveal His plan and His purpose. So he told her, go to this convent, try out there, go under this mistress of novices and live with her for some time. Actually, Adelaide had done all that, but still he wanted to be sure that she was not, as we would say, jumping the guns to reach, do what she wanted. But she also had to go through all this again. And he was watching patiently, but appreciating the, the submissiveness of Adelaide, a submissiveness which was not slavishness, a submissiveness which was respectful for God's moment and God's time. So, I feel that Father Cloriviere showed himself to be a very good director of Adelaide Cisse in this search for a new form of religious life. Then at that time, he did not clearly see still for Adelaide. So he decided that maybe France is becoming too difficult to live in, so let's go to Canada. And I can do something new and possible in the new missions of Canada. So he decided perhaps that was what God wanted for him. And then when everything was ready for him to go to Canada, then he got the inspiration. Why not in France? Not to go to Canada, but to stay in France. And why not in the world? So this was something so different to what he had thought. He hadn't thought on those lines at all. But here is a man who, in his search for God, is always searching for what God is revealing, what God is saying. Excuse me, I'm also distracted in seeing your faces because I'm seeing that you are amused by faces that side. So I was wondering what is being shown. That's why I'm interrupting just to see. What is it that I'm amusing you on while I'm speaking? So and when he was ready to leave for Canada, then the inspiration came not to go. And therefore, the thing is, even God's inspiration sometimes is so upsetting. It is so different to what we think and what we plan. And therefore, to accept that inspiration and say, this is what God wants now of me, requires much faith. When God upsets our plan and makes us see something so different to what we had thought earlier, but our readiness to accept because of our faith, trust, and confidence in God. And therefore, when to him was revealed a religious life, totally different to the cloister concept which existed. No cloister, no uniform dress, no particular place of staying, no particular timetable, no office of the usual office of the religion, none of these things. And yet, a religious life of consecration to God. It needs a breadth of vision, a large mindedness to understand the inspiration of God. And that is why it is not like, okay, he was there, then in a twinkling of an eye he saw that, and then he said, oh, this is what God wants. It requires a thought. How can it be? How can Mary also, when she received that gift from the angel Gabriel, you will be, how can it be? something which I have never envisaged in life, which I did not think was possible. Now, how am I to envisage this? And this requires a great act of faith on our part also. And it requires somebody who is used to the manner in which God communicates himself. How creative God can be. God is not limited by houses and walls and books and prayers printed, but God is much bigger than that. And he can inspire his presence and the way of living his presence in the world through other ways also. And this is what I personally admire in Father Cloriviere, because he had that breadth of vision which could accommodate the vastness of God's plan. And then to think of that for women. As it is, the cloister was so much for women to see that they were protected. Even if they went to the parlor, somebody had to keep them. If they went out, somebody had to accompany them. They could not be left alone. Women had to be protected at that time. So to think of a religious life where women could go out, that they need not have such a timetable which fixed them so rigidly. All that also was something that Father Cloriviere was able to take in, because the thought was that if one is motivated to live for God, to consecrate one's life to God, to witness to the presence of God in the world, then one can be flexible. And that is how Father Cloriviere came to a kind of society which would be flexible in structures, but firm in certain other things. Firm in the spirit of consecration to God. Firm in adherence to God at all times. There were no particular times to be firm in God, at all times to be firm in God, but flexible with regard to other external details of living one's life, in order that we can witness in the manner in which the inspiration was. In fact, in the inspiration, we find it automatically that Father Cloriviere goes back very much to the life of the early Christians. The early Christians, they had one heart and one soul. They did not have canon law at that time, and they did not have the needy to the poor around them. That's what they had to do. And around that spirit, then they gradually developed awake structures which obeyed their acting, but the spirit was there. So that even for us, even in our manner of poverty, which was quite different to the way it was lived in other religious orders, in poverty we could possess, we could have property, we could have a salary, we can have, but with what spirit? Not in order to possess and in order to claim this is mine, this is for me because I earned it. Not at all. I am only an instrument to carry out something for the service of the needy, for the poor, for those whom we have to reach out to. And therefore, nothing is mine. I belong to God. And God has every right over what I have. So it's a very challenging life to live the spirit and yet have the means at one's hand and one's disposal. And therefore, the call of the society is universal also, to embrace different cultures in our world. As all peoples are called to live as a family under a loving Father. So much of what Pope Francis has written in the last few years goes in this direction. So what are we called to do in order to adapt to different cultures and to recognize the signs of our times. When Adelaide, the CC and Father Cloriviere were preoccupied, what should we do for the church at this time? Because the church was also undergoing many attacks, like we are undergoing right now. And they were searching for what they should do, what was God wanting them to do. So we also, we also go through the same kind of struggle today. What does God want us to do? Sometimes we say, why not in the whole world? And the society has really gone all over the world. When I was there, we had to visit about 31 countries of the world because we were spread all over. And today, already a few years have passed, and what we see now in the reports is many houses are closing, and that much property is being sold, because what are we to do with it? And who is going to be responsible for it? Already, measures are taken, like, if I may say, where we opened out worldwide, now we seem to be closing it. But it may be necessary because times change and events change, and we may have to adapt according to the present situation. But if we can always have a vision for which we are doing something, why are we doing this? Why are we choosing now to be like this? Why are we choosing whatever we choose, maybe to form in a particular direction, or to give up certain works, or to do other works? Why? What is God indicating through this? And that search which they had, that passionate search which they had at that time, in which even the inspiration was took place, so that also should characterize our passionate search for God's will during these difficult times that we are living and going through. God never changes. Times may change, circumstances may change, socio-economic conditions may change, but God never changes. His values and what He towards Him and towards our neighbor, all those things remain the same. Whatever and therefore changes, and which even today carry out, and I must carry out today also, and give witness. Sometimes I also heard the sister say how much we are praying, how many hours, how many groceries we are saying. Looks like God is not listening. And we are hearing still of this happening and that. Incident happening. So where is God? Where is God? God is in us, with us. And He tells us. And we carry it out in His name. Therefore, if we are saying nothing is happening, it may be we are becoming a little deaf and we are not listening enough to what He is saying. That is very important, that passionate search in each one of us. And then the sharing of that search. Even with Adelaide the CC, when she shared with Father Cloriviere, he didn't say immediately, well, okay, it's like that. Or no, don't think of that. He didn't say. He said, let me listen. Let me listen to the voice of God, which is being heard through each one. What is God saying? And what can I share with my superior? What can I share with my sister? So that all of us who belong to the society really feel the same anxiety, the same desires, the same desire for apostolates to be carried on. That is very important. And therefore, it's not like each one doing her thing in her corner, but all of us sharing, feeling for one another, praying for one another. That this sister is going through these hard times, difficult times. We need to pray for her. This is the sharing of the vision of the society together. It is not just as individuals, but together. And in that awareness, we realize the strength of our beings. And that strength will be able to share for us in our lives. Thank you.
Father Cloriviere is a man of prayer, and the history of our society speaks to us how we spend time in adoration before the Blessed Sacrament. In prison, he was happy to receive the host hidden in the baskets of food. His and adoration inspires me and helps me to draw my strength from God. He is all powerful and mighty. Nothing is impossible for God. There are ups and downs, but one thing I'm sure, that God, who has called me, is faithful, and He will never leave me alone. Father de Cloriviere was a man of prudence, and when I was reflecting this, the incident came to me, which we have already seen in Mercy's PPT, how he responded to the police when they were in search of him. And he said wisely that if you want to wait, here is the key. I can open the apartment and you can wait for him. His prudence helps me to reflect, to share how much I can share with whom. Also, triple filter test at times helps me. I desire to get this prudence from Father de Cloriviere. He was a man of action and determination. He never got discouraged no matter what happened. His determination helps me in my life situation and in my mission never to get discouraged. His human qualities I always admire. He thanked Adelaide for whatever she did, especially the care that she showed or the food that she sent for him, which inspires me to be human with the people whom I reach out. His simplicity of life, as he did not want anything which was specially made for him in the refectory. He was happy with what was served and grateful for anything received, which helps me to live my life in simplicity. I thank God for Father de Cloriviere and his life, which inspires and encouraging me and each one of us as daughters of the heart of Mary. Much can be said about him, but due to lack of time, I stop here, thanking Maggie and the team for giving me this opportunity to share. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sisters. I know it is a long session, and Hazel has already shared about Father de Cloriviere's life, and Shayla shared her personal experience. And I too going to share what I am struck by Father de Cloriviere's life. I have taken 3 points in my life. That Father de Cloriviere was man of visions, and with that vision to fulfill his prayer, faithfulness to the prayer. And I am happy to tell you that Shanti is sitting here. I have learned how to be faithful to the prayer time. And that was, I learned from Shanti, because when I was in formation, I used to see her at 2:30 be in the chapel, whatever it may be. And that is what I felt, that when I am faithful to the prayer, surely things happen. And that is what I have seen in my mission life. I know that I am working in Vajapur mission, I have worked, and now I am in Nandurbar. But I want to tell you that because of Father de Cloriviere's prayer life, I can stand here and say real, true daughter of the heart of me because of my prayer life. And therefore, I thank God, Father Clorivière's prayer life and spiritual life. And vision. He had a vision in life. In my early age, I don't have any vision. I didn't understand also why it is. But when I talk now to the boarding girls, and I always say, Marathi, we say, ध्येय. तुमच्या जीवनामध्ये ध्येय काय आहे? Means what is the vision in your life? And if you have to reach to that vision, what you have to do? And really, I can say, as I see our girls growing with responsibility, SLS here, always encouraging me about boarding vision, and that how to be reaching to that goal. What are the goals in my life? Boarding girls, but my community and myself also. Because sometimes everything is mixed up and we don't know where to reach. But if I have a vision in my life, I can really through my prayer life, I can reach that vision. And therefore, I'm helping boarding girls in my mission, and I thank God for Father Clorivière as a man of vision. Second point I'm struck is Father Cloriviere's perseverance. I remember in my mission, early formation and all, perseverance was not in my life. I used to find very difficult. Why to pursue, give up, finish, that is over. But now, as I am growing in religious life, as a daughter of the heart of Mary, I see that perseverance in my life. Maggie is sitting here. Sometimes when I am told to do that accounting or something, account is the biggest thing for me. Other things I can do. And when I was made an animator in November 2014, and I am told that you have to do account. First thing, I said, what I have to do? I don't know anything, how to do it. But I tell you, with my perseverance spirit, I can tell you that I can do the account. Whatever it is. So that was the spirit of Father Clorivière, what I received in my life. Other thing, now last year and all, you all know, that is a FCRA renewal. And our renewal is stuck there for 1.5 years. We are going there and there in so many places. We are not getting anywhere. But I remember, I want to tell you that my community support, they said we start praying to Father Clorivière. And when we started Novena to Father Clorivière, we see things are moving slowly. But we are happy because of the spirit of Father Clorivière. And I want to say that my sisters also are very supportive. Wherever I am with the mission, I am in Hyderabad, but even Vajapur. I have a very good team, very good community, and therefore I could grow in that. And that is all the spirit came because of Father Cloriviere's spirit in us and in the community. Last year, lockdown time, we were reading all the letters of Father Clorivière. And I was wondering what minute things is telling Mother Jesuit. Is that money that much there? That movie don't say that is, and we were laughing. But actually, it is a simplicity of life. Father Clorivière's simplicity of life. I'm very much struck. You all know in the mission sometimes things are there, things are not there. How to adjust? And we adjusted because of simplicity of Father Clorivière. The spirit of simplicity in our life. Sometimes so many things are lacking. But not to grumble. I should grumble actually. I should grumble. But now I learn through my life and through Father Clorivière life not to grumble. Whatever is there, be satisfied. And as I said in your sharing, how to adjust yourself. If you really want to commit yourself as a daughter of the heart of Mary, you have to adjust wherever you are and live the life as it comes in your life. And that is what I learned with my experiences. Then, honest necessity. I want to share one personal experience. When I was in 7th standard, and I had taken without taking, I wanted to eat something. And my mommy came to know that I have dropped the money. So she was asking, did you take? I said, no, I was fighting. Then she gave me one slap there and she told me, if you want money, I give you. But you don't do that. And I tell you, all of you, because of that slap, now I can be honest to myself and honest to my mission and honest to the society. Because my mummy has given us love. That time I cried lots. But now I say I'm grateful to my mummy who is in heaven. And we see honest necessity in Father Nicholas. Every little thing he was honest. That's why he could reach his vision and he could experience God in his life. I too, standing here, say that I always experience God in my life. And therefore, I am happy, daughter of the heart of God. So, this is my personal experience. Yeah.
Thank you, Hazel, Shaila, and Martina, for sharing your personal experiences and how Father de Cloriviere has been so much part of your life and the inspiration that you have received in your mission and in your personal life. Obstacles don't have to stop you. If you run into a wall, don't turn around and give up. Figure out how to climb it. Go through it or work around it. This is what Michael Jordan says. And this has been experience of each one of us, that whatever difficulties we face in our personal life or in our mission, but we don't have to stop or we don't have to wait and see what will happen, but we have to persevere, as Martina has rightly shared her experience, and it has been an experience of each one of us. I feel that each one of you sitting here will agree that whatever they have shared, you must have felt that yes, I too have experienced this in my life, and I have been like Father de Cloriviere has been so much part of my life. And so now let us continue to imbibe the spirit and virtues of Father de Cloriviere in our lives. We have spent so much of our time in reading, reflecting, and sharing in our respective communities on our constitutions. I think reading this, only each one of us will remember the days that we were going through each and every word and each and every article of our constitution so minutely. So today you will see the fruits of our efforts. I now invite our provincial, Maggie, to say few words and to release the revised constitution. Yes.
Yes, sisters, we have to raise the closure of bicentenary of the Father de Cloriviere. And also during the association, we have got our constitution, we have got it earlier, but we have got it on copy for us to have it with us. But coming back to, as a part of the closure of the bicentenary year, I was listening to all of you, especially Martina and Shaila. Then all of us must have thought of our own self, how we came across Father de Cloriviere in our own life during formation and interviews. I just thought I never attended a vocation promotion camp. I was never active in the church, and I never had a spiritual director. My search was alone. Only through books I've been trying to find, to see what God is calling me to. Because I was frightened. It's not that there were no people. I was frightened to talk about my desire to join anyone. So quietly one day when I was in Madras University doing my MPhil, I went to cultural academy, and Betty was the warden at that time, and I think she didn't know that I was going there, and so when I expressed to her the desire not to join, but just to know about the society, she was searching for Mother Teresa's book, but she could not find. So she had only Father de Cloriviere's book. She gave me that book, and I came to that book,
back to my university. I was just going through it. I was very curious. And the first thing struck me was his stammering. That gave me tremendous confidence. Yes. How this weakness, Father Cloriviere had this impediment. But with all that, how he became the founder of the society. The second thing was, I don't know exact words, that he was like a ball, could be thrown anywhere, anyhow. And that gives me here the disposition that he had, and disposition that I need to have. And the third thing, because you know those when you are in a university those days only head level, huh? Just you don't think about that. So very high words were there. I don't know which page. That he was a man of inner freedom. And his inner freedom led him to inner conviction and strong commitments. And this struck me so deeply, so deeply. And I think that was my call. That I decided that I would join the society. So here I am. So that's why I have a special love for Father Goregaon, because I know how he came into my life and then he touched me all these years, and I have grown. I would like to express, my dear sisters, my deep gratitude to each one of you for who are physically and virtually also present, for all the efforts you have made to journey with our founder during this whole year. It is true that we did not have many celebrations, but especially during this pandemic time, but it gave us an opportunity to study the writings of Father Cloriviere in depth and deepen our spiritual life. We have been reflecting on the life of our founder individually and as a community during our recollection, review, and community conferences. Thanks to the Founders Commission from the Jesuit who inspired us through all the writings which they had sent to us from time to time for our reflection and sharing. Thank you to Mercy, Hazel, Martina, and Shaila for beautiful sharing, enriched and inspired us to take us back to him and to reflect on him, his heart, his mind, and his work. I was happy to journey with you every day quotations from the writings of our founders. And I don't know how it has helped you, but it has helped me a lot. Here are some points for our reflection. I just quickly today as we go back to and soon he was led to the court as the government had framed several rules against the religious. You all know that. But do we have the courage to stand for the gospel values, human rights, of justice, equality, and freedom? He received inspiration, and we also receive inspirations. But he never doubted whether it is possible to implement that or not. He never thought of difficulties. Difficulties must have come across. It was exclusive. It is a why me or why not, why in France and why not in the whole world. All those thoughts must have come. But the thing is, he put them into practice immediately. He drew up the plan and submitted to the authorities concerned for its sanction a new form of religious life, while safeguarding all the principles of evangelical counsels about the justice of religion. How do we respond to the inspirations that God gives us? Opportunities come on our way. Do we think of difficulties first or the vast opportunities before us? In everything, let us say fiat. And these two other words, blessed be God and Dio gratias. No? Yeah. Do we have the courage to say yes at all times? He wants to test thoughts of other Cloriviere. He wants to test our confidence. Fiat. In the meantime, let us not tire of keeping our minds and our hearts and hands fixed towards heaven, or rather let us present to the Heavenly Father the arms of His Son, extended on the cross, and let us take refuge in His heart. For us, the need to take refuge in Him at all times. Obviously, Martina said, "Lead the prayer which makes me do whatever comes across in my life, especially the challenges." Another quoting, let us be the sign of whatever God is. His goodness is there, and knows better than we what suits His glory and His good. Let us only think of serving Him as best as we can, and let us abandon ourselves and all our works into His hands. Again, an invitation to abandon ourselves totally into His hands and trust in Him. And the prayer for you today for us: keep yourself closely united to our Lord. Withdraw into His divine heart. He will communicate His strength to you, and nothing will disturb you. Yes, sisters, with these few words to reflect, I thank each one of you, and especially today you are present here, and we are also journeying together during this time, most difficult time, not only the pandemic, but many other challenges before us. We need to be strong interiorly so that we can face these challenges with courage and hope. And coming back to our revised constitution, as Ella expressed, it's a fruit of our work, and we have been reflecting, and we found this revised constitution very beautiful, simple, and the language is good for us to understand. And as we are formally, we have got the copy with us, but since it's bound by God, we thought we will have a formal kind of business effect. So I was inspired. I was sitting here. I thought I would call up our the first BHM who joined from India and the BHM who joined today. So we have the first and not the last, but today's last. We'll call up on Mercy and Tisha to release this new copy of the revised constitution, and after that, all the animators of the community after this. Mercy and Tisha. Now I call upon all the animators of the communities. And we have here Isabel representing all the missionaries all over the world. So Isabel, and then our Nicholas is representing the whole of North region. So I call upon Sandra, Isabel, and Nicholas. Please come. Don't worry, all of you will have your own copies. We have some things already. I just know that we with fidelity and the base of the vocation of a daughter of the heart of Mary. Each one will have them and will strive to become familiar with them, so that in all circumstances they will guide and support her religious life and remind her of the deep communion that unites them all in a religious body. So with this, we have our beautiful constitution with us, but see that we don't keep it in a shell safely, but we use it regularly for our collection, for everything. Okay, so now I request our young sisters to distribute the constitution to all the sisters, and please take it, those who are absent, all the communities, and let us take the copies, extra copies for you. And we also have souvenir today. We didn't have much time, so we just made a simple bookmark on this occasion of the Bicentenary of Father Cloriviere. So please keep it in your revised constitution. So it marks the day that today is the day we have got the new copy with us. Yes. Yes, sisters. So now I know that we have extended a little more of our time now. So Bari was like, especially sisters from Masai North side, and sisters from on their so I think we need to spend some time with one another. Okay, so yes, Greta now. Back. Sisters, please settle down. Hello. Shall we continue? Okay. So I thank Maggie for once again relating the quotes of Father de Cloriviere with our lives. And as she mentioned that the group, WhatsApp group that she had formed last year, and she was forwarding the quotes of Father de Cloriviere every day. She was asking whether that was relevant or helpful for us, but I personally feel that it was like Father de Cloriviere was talking to me each day. I used to wait for those quotes because when I used to open it, I used to feel that, my God, I've got an answer to my problem or the situation that I was in. So I thank Maggie for that, and it has really been a wonderful experience, which each one of us agree that we have journeyed with Father de Cloriviere in this past year. So thank you once again, and now we have got the copy of revised constitution. So it is not that we have to start our homework or something, but this revised constitution has to continue to be part and parcel of our life as we live our charism as daughters of the heart of Mary. Now we have, I feel that this bicentenary year has made each one of us very creative So now we have our PPC community presenting to us a song on the life of Father de Cloriviere. So I call upon the members of PPC community.
Thank you for presenting it should be open now. It's the end of this. Present it last. Last
Okay, all the PPC community sisters, please come here. Come, please come. You may go. Come this side.
Yeah.
Come this side. Janet, come here.
From there. No. If you are the ball, no.
Okay, are we ready? Sisters, we'll enter meeting. Stand up, please come close. Yes. Thank you, Brother King, especially.
Wasn't that an excellent one? It was a super performance for giving us a glimpse of the life of Father Cloriviere. Let us give a round of applause. So thank you PPC community for being so creative. It was really a wonderful performance. I think Father Cloriviere got an inspiration in a twinkling of an eye. But here we are getting inspiration upon inspiration. Today he must be getting hiccups in heaven. That he is been like performed in various forms, his writings, his experiences. So each one of us has been so creative. And now we have our Jesuit community presenting to us a poem on letters of Father Cloriviere. So I invite Jesuit community.
This is a poem on the circular letters of Father Cloriviere. So I'll give each circular letter the gist of it in just 4 lines. On Valentine's Day, 1799, that was February 14, in Paris, the first circular letter, penned our dear Father Cloriviere with great fervor. Efforts we need to make to resemble the Sacred Heart. God chooses the weakest and sets them apart. This is the contents of the first circular letter. On the Industrious Workers' Day, the same year, that is May 1st, St. Joseph's Day, appeared the challenging second circular letter. Be of one heart and mind, just as the early church did. Cling to virtue, forget yourself, and remain united. 9 years later, from the day of the inspiration, as he worked zealously for the 2 foundations, the third circular letter he provided as code, exhorting us to sharing and caring for, imbibe a deep devotion, counsels the insightful 4th circular letter. Each day let's grow to be gentle and patient, as well as selfless, detached and obedient. The prized 5th circular letter on the 23rd February 1802 taught us to be the light, salt and enhancing virtue, enumerating the blessedness of our precious vocation. Let God's choice of you be a permanent experience. Came the tough 6th circular letter in 1803, the 11th of May. Feed on solid diet of adults. Give up your childish tastes. Draw closer to the Lord, listen, discern and act. Seek holiness, never stray from wisdom's true path. The sequence of virtues, it leads to holiness, to goodness, knowledge, self-control and kindness. Add kindness. Love wisdom and her you highly prize, said Father Cloriviere in the 7th circular letter, 1805. The spiritual person, when endowed with a clear vision, can see far, far deeper into the magnificent creation. Perceiving infinite wonders, is filled with heavenly splendor, says Father Cloriviere in 1806 in the 8th circular letter. In the 9th circular letter, says Father Cloriviere, May 1808, our mission is to strengthen each other's Christian faith. Endeavor in your ministry each day zealously. Surely, graces in you will flow abundantly. Thank you, Father the Cloriviere, for your perceptive and inspiring 9 circular letters.
I had heard of 2 minutes Maggi noodles. That within 2 minutes you'll get noodles cooked and you can deliciously savor it. But here we have got 2 minutes glimpse of letters of Father Cloriviere, and that was an excellent one, dear Irene. So thank you very much for taking us to this through this 9 circular letters in 2 minutes. So wonderful poem, and I think it was an effort of the whole chewing committee. So let us clap all together for the wonderful poem that we had. Okay, now.
It's time to see the Lord you call His own. You come to Him at dawn, you kneel adore. Just like another Peter on the shore. You lift the eyes that have no sight, and suddenly it's night. He comes to take you home forevermore.
Cloriviere passed from this earth to his eternal home, leaving behind a family of men and women who have spread across the continents, reaching the shores of India. And now he, Peter Joseph, looks down from heaven and wishes he could be with us as we celebrate the bicentenary of his departure from this earth. And God the Father, with a loving glance, says, "Go, Peter, go." And with great joy in his heart, Peter Joseph the Cloriviere comes down to India in his spiritual body and sings, Cloriviere is now with us and eagerly looks forward to visits to our mission houses. He visits the DHM missions in India with great pride. Goa is his first choice, as it is here that the DHM laid the foundation. Goa, known for its beaches, its spice plantations, its folklore. And the DHMs greet him with a typical Goan folk dance. Vasai, and so he leaves for Mumbai. Vasai has a colorful history with the coming of the Portuguese, the Marathas and the British, and holds an important place in Mumbai's western suburbs. Our sisters celebrate his coming with a folkloric dance in a village and centered on a popular woman named Paskin. Their boat dance, so typical of their state. Peter Joseph is thrilled. It is as vigorous as the missionary spirit of those who came to spread the gospel. Watch them. Our capital is a perfect blend of culture and traditional heritage. The north is endowed with sheer natural beauty and a rich cultural heritage. It is a blend of the green of the farms and villages, the brown of the mountains and deserts, the white of the snow, and the blue of rivers. Here comes our sisters showcasing the Delhi dances. Chalo baba.
Jaldi आओ, jaldi आओ.
So here they come. Chalo. Cloriviere is now going to be exposed to the tribal folk dances of India, symbolic of togetherness and community living that so warms his heart. Fratelli tutti. Joseph the Cloriviere must now return to his heavenly abode after a heart-warming trip to India. The DHMs must now bid him farewell. This is their farewell song to our dear founder, Peter Joseph Cloriviere.
Please join in singing.
We are happy